It's go time for Gavin Newsom's riskiest oil moves. Now, Newsom has put a couple of pieces of legislation together that are now law. And so what folks are saying is that these preemptive measures to stop price spikes in the oil industry are going to translate to cheaper gas prices for consumers in California. Oil companies say the exact opposite is going to happen. You've constricted the supply, prices go to the moon, even higher than they already are, because California typically has some of the highest. California, Washington, Hawaii, some of the highest gasoline prices. What's going to happen? Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Here we go. Here's a little rundown on legislature that Newsom put into effect.
Now to the latest on a bill we've covered for weeks. It's aimed at preventing gas prices from spiking. Governor Newsom signed the bill into law just this afternoon. ABC 10's Alicia Machado was there. She has more on the legislation and when you might see the impacts.
Signed into law, a bill state leaders and Democratic lawmakers say will prevent gas prices from spiking and save consumers money at the pump. Known as AB X2-1, the legislation allows the state to require oil refineries to keep a minimum inventory of fuel to avoid supply shortages, which can cause consumers to see higher prices at the pump.
This is a big damn deal.
All right. When somebody tells you this is a big damn deal, that's when you know, okay, something's up here. What's going on? What special interest was catered to here? Yeah. What do we got going on? Or is it just this whole clean energy, no more gas cars after 2035? What a bunch of ridiculousness.
An amended bill passed the Assembly in a 41-16 vote Monday, sending the proposal to the governor. Surrounded by state Democratic leaders and Attorney General Rob Bonta at the bill signing.
Price spikes happen when refineries fail to plan for supply during scheduled maintenance. This bill will hold oil companies accountable for resupply plans when refineries shutdowns occur, ultimately saving Californians billions at the pump.
But Republican lawmakers and industry leaders say the proposal will raise prices on consumers.
Gas prices are going to go up. All this bill really does is create a whole other new bureaucracy that's going to come up with regulations maybe sometime in the next 6 months.
I asked the governor about the timeline and how soon consumers can expect to see the legislation make a difference.
We hope by next summer, as it relates to where we start to see the sort of traditional annual spikes, that this legislation will be in effect and impacting those prices in a very, very positive way.
In Sacramento, Alicia Machado, ABC 10.
Here's how I see that going. Prices will not drop. They just won't. California, they've got their own blended fuel they've required. So much of this, California's gas prices are self-induced. You know, you went around hugging enough trees and after a while, gas got really, really expensive. And there's all this virtue signaling over, the emissions into the air. Meanwhile, you know what's going to happen is you've already got a major refinery closing down. Yeah. And you've got another one that's got another couple of facilities that they're considering shutting down. So you are literally shrinking the supply of gasoline being refined. What do you think that will do to pricing? This is not that hard to figure out, folks. So what will happen is that we'll have a situation where gas prices don't spike, and they'll point at this. Well, if we didn't have this legislation in place, then we just really saved the consumers billions and billions of dollars because we didn't have that price spike happen. And what happens is that when the refineries, a lot of these are old refineries, they're like an old car. They need a bunch of maintenance. Well, when that maintenance happens, they're not able to output, right? They're not able to refine any of the gasoline they need. So all of a sudden, supplies diminish. And so what a lot of people envision happening is that you're going to import oil from like Saudi Arabia. And I don't know if you know this, but when you import from like Saudi Arabia, comes in on a massive shipping container ship, right? I mean, just a massive freighter that uses some of the sludgiest oil out there and is the worst for the environment. But because it doesn't count against California's, carbon emissions program, since it's something, international and they're coming in through international waters, that doesn't count. It's all fine. So California can sit back and virtue signal. And in reality, their virtue signaling is causing more damage to the environment. Yeah. So that's how that goes. So in another 6 months, when we are looking at summer prices, everybody gets back on the road. Everybody starts to travel again. They want to do, summer vacation traveling and all that good stuff. Hey, it's sunny out. Let's go for a drive. This is when the rubber will literally hit the road. Governor Gavin Newsom has blamed big oil's greed for the state's highest in nation gas prices for 2 years. The year ahead could make this case or break it. So we talked about the one option, which is that gas prices basically stabilize and they don't spike when they should. The other is gas prices go to the moon. And that's what a lot of folks seem to think will happen. I would probably put myself down for that vote, because I just don't see, anytime you monkey around with industry, create more legislation, create more rules, more this, more that, prices don't go down, right? Oh, you're saving us some money. All right. Hey, way to go. His administration, Gavin Newsom, is set to decide whether to impose aggressive, untested new rules on oil refiners that are meant to curb gas prices, but oil companies say they'll do the opposite. I would probably lean into what the oil companies are telling me at this point in time, right? I mean, that just makes more sense. This whole supply issue. Newsom, who is termed out in 2026, meaning he's already got all his terms for governor, but could run for president in 2028, isn't changing his tone on oil. He's going to spin this to the point where he looks good no matter what. Period. Oh, yeah, this is the greatest decision I ever made. I mean, look at all the hard work I did on that. Meanwhile, Californians are spending $6-something a gallon when things go up. I was down in, Oklahoma City visiting my parents for Thanksgiving. Gasoline there was $2. I think the cheapest I saw was maybe $2.19, $2.29, something like that. I mean, it's consistently, it's just, but you're driving around in Oklahoma City, which is basically just this massive, massive residential suburban development after development after development. And every now and then you'll see a pump jack, literally an oil rig doing its number. And you're like, okay, yeah, we're in oil country. Oil. Can't even say that right. I'm from Seattle. You know what I mean? I can say a lot of Native American cities' names, like Puyallup and Issaquah. Say those correctly, but not all. All right. We're not turning back from a clean energy future and requiring transparency from the oil industry. They're always trying to blame, these industries. Is some of that going on? It's like Kamala Harris trying to cap prices. You're like, you're going to do that. You're going to do that. Well, that should be interesting. We'll just see how that goes. But many Democratic lawmakers are worried the state is asking too much of residents against a backdrop of President-elect Donald Trump's decisive victory and a cost of living crisis that pits affordability against the state's climate goals. That's why I've spent so much time on this topic, because I think this goes the wrong way for gruesome Newsom. I really do. I don't see this one working out. And at the end of the day, California, you still got the highest gas prices in all of the land, because you got to have this special blend made just for you guys. So you can't even bring in gasoline from other states because it doesn't meet your restrictions. So you've literally self-imposed all of these restrictions. And now you've got a situation where our gas is really expensive. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The state's approach could become a model for cautionary tale, with implications for a national Democratic Party seeking to redefine itself. And what that means is that you're trying to get away from some of this stuff, right? I mean, we have seen gruesome Newsom go down all of these roads. He went down the road of, why would I support anybody other than Joe Biden? Joe Biden is the most competent, thoughtful, intelligent human being of, all history. And 2 weeks later, we got to get him out of there because the guy can't talk anymore. He, had that terrible, terrible debate with Trump. Just went absolutely sideways on him to the point where Trump was like, I don't know what he said in that last sentence. And I don't think he did either. I mean, that was just some wild stuff. So you got the state's Democrats even basically stating, I'm not sure if this approach is going to work, because this whole notion of trying to protect the consumer from price gouging. Meanwhile, Gruesome Newsom buys a $9.1 million home in California. Is he really concerned about your pockets being gouged at the pump? I don't think so. It's kind of like those little stickers that went on the gas pumps during the pandemic. And then it was a picture of Joe Biden pointing and it goes, I did that. So funny. We will continue to lead on climate, but not on the backs of poor and working people. So what we're talking about here is that you're trying to get to this carbon neutral environment, but you're literally going to do that on the backs of your working class because they're having to commute in to these really expensive cities. And housing costs, you've constricted the supply of housing, and wages haven't risen to the point that housing has. And so you've got a lot of folks making these massive commutes, especially in California, and they got to use a lot of gasoline. And gasoline is super expensive. So it's one of those hot ticket items. It's one of those items that comes up all the time. And Democrats are concerned that their constituency is going to go, you screwed us on this one. You told us this was going to cut gas prices, and it didn't. It did the opposite of that. So that is what we'll be looking for in the next 6 months, and we'll just see how gasoline prices trend. Now, an argument can be made that, hey, gas prices, they're going to do what they do, no matter what the supply is and, who's bringing it in, how that all goes, how they're trying to cap, price gouging in California. Gas goes up, it goes down. So, Sean, it doesn't really have anything micro to do with that. It's more of a, it's a global issue. It's a macro issue. Now, one way or the other, we're going to find out, and we're going to find out sooner than later. And to me, it's this summer. So here's one guy that we saw talking. Californians already pay the highest gas prices in the nation. That's special. And Gavin Newsom's political agenda is about to make them even higher, because he thinks that everybody is so worked up over this, zero carbon emissions, a green environment. Does anybody really still buy that? You saw how destroyed the Democrats got in that last election because they went down a lot of these roads, right? I don't think your average folks that are paying through the nose at the gas pump are really all that worked up over a little carbon emissions. Even in California, I don't see that really happening. We have the same thing here in Washington State. We got just a bunch of knucklehead progressives who are like, we need to be getting off of, we just need to, Fred Flintstone it to work. And we all need to drive an electric car. And you look at the actual stats of what is achievable by 2035. You're not going to eliminate all new gas cars. It's just not a thing. It's not even close to a thing. Or getting rid of gas stoves. You might be able to do that in new construction. You might be able to veer away from that. But like in California, there's a lawsuit happening right now. Apartment owners are basically suing the state with this agenda of, we're going to make all of the apartment complexes retrofit to electricity. Going to get off gas because it's just such a dirty, dirty, dirty fuel. Really? You really think that's going to happen? I'll be talking about that and more in some other podcasts. But yeah, you've got all these storylines going on, right? Where people are like, planet is the greatest thing ever. Meantime, you got Gavin Newsom doing this deal, and part of it is bringing in a whole bunch of imported fuel because you've basically cut your own throat supply. Here we are, but don't worry about it. I am doing this as governor of California. I am doing this to protect you. It's like that famous saying, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Right? Yeah. Okay. I'll believe it when I see it, and I do not believe that Californians are going to enjoy a comfortable summer of low gas prices. That is my prediction right there in a nutshell. And is there a high probability gas prices could go higher, 56 cents higher than we've already seen? Could they go past $7? Absolutely. You betcha. Why not? Why not? Well, maybe not that high, but I bet you get into the mid sixes again. What are they now? In the fives, I think. Maybe in the four. Somebody sent me something like 469. I can't remember where it was in California, but those numbers are out there. But 229 down in Oklahoma. Yeah, that's some cheap gas. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next episode. Bye for now.